Well, Vaughn, you're an interesting guy. Just to look at your social media and everything, I'm super excited to chat with you. If you just kind of go over like who you are and I think we can just start from there, man.
Yeah, I would say a lot of people have described me as the most interesting man in America. And my story, I guess you could say, just keeps on continuing. When social media really first started kicking off for me in 2016 and 2017, there were some people that are just like, oh, we'd like to write a book about you. And I was just like, my story is not yet done. So I'm not ready to write a book until I feel like I can pack it full of more interesting things. Although when I do tell people about my life, it interests them beyond, anything else. So I guess the first thing to start off would be how people started to getting to know me, and that is through social media.
Yeah.
And my social media started back in 2015 when I was about to delete Facebook altogether because I was sick of seeing the drama, and I was like, I don't need this. So I was about to delete Facebook, and my wife at the time was like, you should just start an Instagram. And I was like, well, what's that? And she's like, well, it's just what you're interested in, and you can scroll and like what you want, and it's about your interests. And I was like, okay, cool. So I started just posting guns, cars, patriotism. And when I started posting guns, people were like, oh, you like to brag. And I was like, no, I just like to show my interests. And then I was like, all right, well, screw this. I'm going to make a page where it's specifically just about what I want. And if people want to follow me, they can. If not, no. So I was like, I'm going to make a page for men, the men corner, the man place. And then I was like, oh, the man spot. That's what I'm going to do. I had no idea at the time that people would actually call me the man spot, like at all. But that is originally how my page started was, hey, I wanted to make a page about traditional family values, history of America, guns, off-road racing, nature, hunting, just all those things that made it, it's what I love. I'm a patriot. And I always said at the time, I didn't serve in the military, but I always said patriotism is a relationship between you and your country. And you can love it as much as you want and develop a unique relationship with it, whether that be through history, whether that be through the natural monuments or stuff like that. It's on how you interpret how much you can love your country. So that's how my social media started. And I started making funny skits to really gain attention, and it got a draw. And then, obviously, you've heard of Black Rifle Coffee.
Sure.
Heard of those guys. So back then, Evan Hafer reached out to me, and he was like, hey, I'm starting this company called Black Rifle Coffee. I'd really like to get you in on it. And when I met with him, he was sharing a lawnmower. He was sharing an office space with a lawnmower repair shop. So it was just groundbreaking. And now we know where they are today. Yeah. But that's how I really started with social media, and obviously working with companies, veteran companies and stuff like that. And, my social media just started taking off with relating guns, family humor, stuff like that. And when people are like, well, what kind of humor? It's like Super Bowl commercials, how they're pretty funny. So that's my type of commercial-esque type of content. Funny, getting views, has to do with guns, America, and family. So that's in essence how my social media started.
Well, it feels like you're way ahead of your time. I remember back in those days too, and everybody was scared to post. They were scared of what people thought of them, I think. And I think the very few that broke through during that time didn't care. And we find now, we're in 2025, 10 years later, that it's those types of people who are becoming successful on social media. It's like, yeah, you're going to do some wild stuff, but if that's who you are, if that's authentic, people really dig it, man. I think people were scared. We didn't know how to even handle social media back then. We were scared to put stuff out that wasn't like professional, and if you could just had the personality to persevere through that and just post what you were interested in, even though it might be quirky or weird, or other people might. That's the people who broke through and really created what we have now today. Because look at what we have. Like, there's all these people doing all kinds of wacky stuff. Sometimes it's over the top for sure, trying to just get the views and the likes. But I mean, people who are kind of just like not the norm, but authentic about it. That's what people love.
Oh yeah, and they know what's authentic as well.
For sure.
They can read that and feel that. So and it's a big thing. And if people aren't afraid to show like their real dirty, like nitty gritty lives, like I moved up to Montana in 2020, and pretty soon I ended up living in an RV. And that's not glamorous on social media. I mean, now, 5 years later, people are doing the overland life, and now that's like really cool. But at the time, it was just like, yeah, I don't have a toilet, I don't have a shower, I haven't showered for weeks. And for people to hear that, they're like, ew. And it's just like, no, that's
but also
authentic.
they're intrigued. They're ew, but they're intrigued. And it's like, man.
Yeah.
And then they go reflect on themselves and go like, oh, that'd kind of be cool.
Well, yeah, while they're posting pictures of the salad that they're eating. You know what I mean? Like, you're kind of a pioneer, man. You were doing that stuff before it was, yeah. Like, I that bothers me so much. I don't care what you're eating. I don't care what your steak looks like. I don't care. Show me something funny. Show me something cool. Show me something creative, Yeah.
And my biggest thing of why I was posting is I wanted people to look at what they could potentially live if they were somewhere else. So the guy sitting in a cubicle 9 to 5 in Boston, is just looking up and he's just like, wow, look at this guy living, and he's on the Pony Express right now shooting guns, out in Utah. Like, wow, that is really cool. So one of my motivators was to show people a different way to live.
That's so revolutionary 10 years ago. I mean, just think of all that's changed in the last 10 years. And for you to think that way 10 years ago, people are now going, oh, I got to do that because that's what's been successful. But to think that way 10 years ago, that was not the norm, man. That was like wild and wacky, but authentic. And it's pretty awesome.
Yeah. And I remember I was a door-to-door salesman for 11 years before I started doing social media full time. So I would, I had a house here in Utah, and I would live here for, 5 months. And then I would be traveling, the rest of the year, whether it be in Louisiana, Texas, in the South is where we primarily sold alarm systems door to door. And I remember when my social media started really kicking off, we had our first baby, and we were in Houston, Texas. And my wife was like, I can't keep on doing this traveling, door-to-door summer sales. I just can't do this. And I was like, well, I have 60,000 Instagram followers now. I think if we went back to Utah and we quit the door-to-door thing, if I put everything into social media, I think we could make it. I think I could do it. And, my bills, I had to make like $7,000 a month at the time, but I was only making, $5,000 a month. And so I literally lived off of credit cards for 6 months before I got over the top from just social media and the following, just building.
They were, so what year was that?
That was 2017 is when
I didn't even think they were paying influencers or whatever you want to call that for their content yet on Instagram.
Yeah, and I don't get paid from Instagram. I just get paid the content from, one of the companies.
Partners.
Yeah, the partners.
Okay.
So it was like $500 here to wear their T-shirt, $1,000 here to drink this coffee, whatever it was. And then it was like guns. Hey, we want you to come out to the shoot. Okay, we want you to shoot our gun. Make X amount of content for $1,000. So it was constantly working. And now, I was working for pennies back then from what people are paying now for Instagram. The type of views and insights I was getting people for $1,000, Apple would pay like $500,000, for stuff like that now. And I'm just like, oh my God, but nobody knew. Nobody knew.
Well, and back then in the early days of Instagram, it was easy to get engagement. It's become harder and harder, which you understand. There's a total reason for it, but yeah, I mean, it was easier to get engagement back then, so you could just really start racking up. I remember when we first started our Instagram, it was 2014. Like the first post we ever did got like 4,500 likes. We didn't even have any followers at the time. Like these guys are desperate to get people on this platform. So, and that was a gun post. They didn't care that much back then. Things have changed.
Now it's pay to play, man.
Yeah, the algorithm was not there. It was like whatever you follow, you get to actually see what people post.
Yeah. I remember when they made the change to like, hey, not all of your followers are going to actually see your content, and it was like, what? I've gained all these followers over this amount of time, and you're not even going to show them things I'm posting. But obviously, they kind of knew better. The benefit to that is if you have good content, you get content shown to people who don't follow you, and that's how the whole thing works. So anyway, not to try to dissect the algorithm.
Yeah.
I think the basic thing is make stuff people want to watch, right?
Yeah, that's exactly the thing.
So.
Yeah, and then sometimes that doesn't translate into what you want to watch. Like we're learning that, like a video that we're like, hey, this is a good idea, let's do this. Then we start to go, wait a second, but is everybody else gonna like? There's a fine line there. We want to make stuff that we want to make because we want to make it. And then hopefully people will start to like it. But then there's a little part of you that just goes, well, I think this is stupid, but I know that I'm going to get, 100,000 views on this.
Oh yeah,
right now.
I remember one of my most successful videos I did was this liberal guy walks into the gun store. He's got a sweater over his shoulders, and he walks up to the gun counter. And he's like, "Hi, my wife said I should come in and shoot guns. Looks pretty dangerous." And he's like, "Oh, I assure you, it's very safe." And he's like, "I brought my grandfather's vest," and puts on an orange vest in the shooting range.
Oh my
He's
God.
like, I don't think you're going to need that, sir. Anyways, so first shooting 9mm. Oh, getting more confident, shooting an AR. Oh, soon gets a cigar in the mouth, shooting a 45-70.
Yeah.
And the liberal-esque guy is now like, yeah, this is great. And I remember before I posted that video, I was like, this is so dumb. This is so gay. Nobody's going to like this at all. I was about to hit delete and done. And within the first day, it had over 2 million views. And I was like, what? Like what I thought was so dumb and wasn't going to do well, just boom.
And just think about the kind of money you would have made if you'd done that video today and got 2 million views on the first day.
Yeah, exactly.
That's awesome. So Ryan was telling us you're a homesteader.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about that.
So it's been a crazy, wild story. So 2020, I was living here in Utah, and then there was an earthquake. There was COVID, it was happening, and then an earthquake happened here in Salt Lake. And my wife was like, I'm getting vertigo. This isn't working out, because we had our house up on a hill in North Salt Lake. So she just felt like it was constantly moving. And she's like, we should move. And I was like, okay, I had a 5 or 10 year plan to move. But if you're saying we can move now, let's go. So I was born and raised in Idaho. And I was like, we're going back to Idaho. And she was like, well, we have to be close to an airport, a Target, and a hospital. And I was like, oh, there goes Idaho.
Sounds like every other way.
Yeah. So then we found a spot in northern Montana where it checked all of the boxes. And I was like, listen, I have to be able to shoot off my back porch. So that's why we ended up in Montana. And I remember just I would look at places. I'm like, I need 20 or 30 acres. Couldn't find anything. I was like, whatever. And then one day I looked up, unlimited acreage, and it was like over 120 acres, under $1 million, and it was owner finance. And I was like, we don't need a bank. We can actually do this homeowner finance.
What is this?
Yeah. And people don't know about that.
Is this in America?
Yeah. People are like, what's homeowner finance? People don't even know about that. And I was like, yeah. So I got all this land not having to go through a bank.
Wow.
The only thing is no electricity, no power. It was a mile access road. So I've got a mile from any main road to get back to my property, surrounded by Forest Service. And I was like, okay, this is it. I'm doing this. And my wife was like, no, we need to be closer to town, this and that, but we couldn't find anything. So I saw this land and I was like, okay, we're doing it. I'm just going to put a down payment on it, and I'm going to tell her later, here we go.
Is she still married to you?
No.
Okay.
But that wasn't the reason. As you could say, we were going through a hard time before we moved. We thought maybe the move would help bring the marriage together. Now, I guess you could say we didn't survive the marriage.
Turns out Target was really important.
Yeah.
Yeah. But funny enough now, we were divorced 4 years ago. We get along better now than we ever did. We have a very healthy co-parent relationship. But yeah, so being up there, I was like, okay, we have to trench in power. And the realtor at the time was like, yeah, it'll be like $30,000 for you to trench power back here. It was $190K to trench power back there. So trench in power, and then to improve the road was almost $100K. And then I get an RV out there, and I'm like, well, I'm like $500,000 in this, living in the middle of nowhere, and I can't even flush a toilet or have a shower. So it's not for the weak of heart.
And so did you have to dig a well? Did you have septic tank
put
in?
Dug a well. And obviously going through all this, had to go through the divorce. So got a well dug, but this was like during the COVID days, right? So they quoted me like $50, per foot. And by the end of it, they're like, no, $75 a foot. And I was like, I don't have money for that. So literally I was like, listen, I will give you $20,000 in silver, and I've got a dump trailer. That'll make the last payment. And that's that. We literally bartered my last payment of my well, which was 650 feet.
That's what I was thinking. It's deep up there. You got to go
so
deep.
Yeah.
And so is it, like in Arizona, obviously there's not a lot of water, period. But do you, when they drill, do they know they're going to hit water, or is it kind of like a guess?
It's a guess. Yeah. Like there are some guys that'll get out there with their little voodoo sticks, and I saw this one guy with a copper wire, and he's like, "Water's here, dude."
Guys tasting the grass. Oh yeah,
exactly. And you're just like, and you're paying this guy $1,000 to find water, and does it work? I don't know, but I probably should have paid that voodoo guy $1,000 because it ended up costing me more.
Yukon Cornelius out there. Oh, there's gold in these hills.
So yeah, I don't have a well pump yet, but we're getting there. But
so how do you eat your water out?
I haul it in and out
You
right
haul it?
now.
Oh, you haul it in and
I
out.
haul
That
in
dump
my
trailer would
water.
come in real handy.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, exactly. That's why I'm like, damn it. Luckily, I got a flatbed Duramax. But yeah, just little things people don't like think about. But yeah, my kids, for them, like they know a red cup. That's the pee cup in the RV, which is like because it's too cold to go outside.
Yeah.
So it's you have to get used to these very awkward. You have to get very comfortable real quick with very personal hygiene things. Living in those conditions.
So no septic yet?
No septic yet, and it was terrible because I did pull. That's the one thing that you have to have a permit for as far out as I live is septic. So you got to do I had the perk test done. They came and did that, but it expires every 2 years. So 2 years I was down on my ass, couldn't make any progress building, and then 2 years ago I was like, okay, we're gonna get this going again. So I had to open up my pirate treasure chest and more gold and silver. Traded that in for $50,000 to start on my homestead.
This place sounds
house.
amazing, actually. It's like America how it should be.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's really unique. People are like, okay, you buy gold and silver. I'm like, yeah, and you use it, and the right people want it, and that's literally how I was able to start my homestead. So now I'm all dried in, got the basement all ready. So this next spring I'll really be able to make some progress on it. But it was -20 in my RV 3 days ago.
Wow.
So I was like, you know what? The basement's looking real good right now.
Yeah.
I don't care if it's unfinished. We're moving in right now.
So you growing anything there?
I will. Yeah, we've got a spot. We've got a spot for a garden.
What grows in -20?
If you got a greenhouse,
You gotta
that's
have a
the
greenhouse.
only thing that grows when it's -20.
Well, Montana's a green place. So obviously stuff grows, but probably not anything to eat.
Yeah, there's actually a plant, and my girlfriend at the time, she's a very natural. I call her a witch.
Does she know this?
I think they all are.
Oh, yeah.
Aren't all of them?
Well, it's funny how I met
I love
her.
you.
Which?
all of them but you, honey.
She has a voodoo doll right now of you being like,
Yeah. Oh, God.
But yeah, my current witch, she's actually been the overland wife.
Nice.
Is kind of life. She's done the overland life, so she's been living in her car for 2 years straight, just traveling the national monuments, traveling, hiking, and she makes a living on making YouTube pages, being like, this is the hike I went on, this is where I stayed, this is how you can make money and live in your car and live the life you want, and not be tied down to the 9 to 5 or the traditional norm.
Yeah.
So I met her, via social media. I slid into those DMs and I was like,
There
hey,
you go. Again, a pioneer. It wasn't even called slide into the DMs yet.
Yeah, exactly. I don't need no dating app. I got Instagram.
Yeah.
But she's actually taught me a lot of what you can eat in the forest. Like strawberries, for example, in Montana are just teeny. Like natural strawberries are teeny compared to like the big plump ones we have. But that's because they bred those just kind of like carrots.
Yeah.
If you see the natural carrots, the orange is nothing compared to what a natural carrot used to be. They kind of just generated those and bred them to being what they are today.
Isn't cauliflower completely lab created? It's not a real plant, is it?
It depends if you talk to vampires.
Okay. I don't know any vampires.
Yeah.
I know some vegans. Is that the same thing?
Yeah, it is. Actually,
Okay.
it is.
All right.
You're on to something.
Okay. I was like,
But going back to that, there is a green plant that has leaves that does stay and grow in the wintertime. She just went on a hike the other day and she brushed it off and she picked some and she put them in her witch bag. And she's like, oh, I got these and we can actually make a tea. And I was like, what? Like, it's wintertime and that's green. How did you know this? And she's like, oh, I just learned and read about it. And I'm just like, oh my gosh. So there's so much stuff you can eat in Montana. It's just nobody knows about it. And it's just very interesting for me learning. I have 120 acres out there. It's like, wow, this is just growing right on my land. I would have walked over those strawberries and not thought anything of it, thinking that they were strawberries.
Anything dangerous up there? Poison ivy?
Yeah. We got poison ivy. But I mean, the most dangerous thing we're looking at is just the wildlife, like the grizzlies, the cougars, the wolverines. Wolverines are actually really cool animals. And
They are cool animals, but they're dangerous. Are they aggressive?
They're very aggressive. What's interesting is a wolverine is not afraid of a wolf. A wolf is afraid of a wolverine because a wolverine is just like, I'll fuck you up and I don't care. Yeah. A wolf is like, I'm not going to risk getting hurt and risking an injury fighting this Wolverine. So I'm going to bow out. You can have the kill.
They're like cousins with the honey badger, right? So, we all know about the honey badgers.
Yeah.
honey badgers don't give a shit.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. It's a wild animal, man.
Yeah. Those things, you see them on TV or whatever, on the Nature Channel or whatever, like fighting snakes, and they don't give a shit. They really don't give a shit.
So apparently, like you were talking about, like the cats on your ranch, right? That's supposed to kill critters that don't.
Yeah.
But like cats' reflexes, like cats can't, like snakes don't have cats are too fast, apparently.
Yeah, they are. Yeah.
Well, we have a bunch of we call them barn cats, which is outdoor cats, and then living in Arizona, there's a lot of rattlers. So we have rattlers on our property, and the first we know about the rattlers because we see the cats fucking getting all excited. So the first time I ever walked over to one, they're nose to nose, my cat and this rattlesnake, and I'm like kind of freaked out because I'm like, I don't want the cat to get bit. I later learned, like, there's no possible way. The cats are so much faster, like exponentially faster than a snake. They can get right up on them, and a snake goes to bite them. The cat will move right away. I'm like, wow, that's pretty impressive, man. Because you think snakes are like the fastest things on the planet. They're not.
And
cats are.
And that's when he coined the term cat-like reflexes.
That was me.
It used to be called Ryan McMillan-like reflexes. Now it's cat-like reflexes.
Which I've heard about those.
Have you? Yeah, well, it gets around.
It's catching on.
All right, so you're a gun guy. I hear you have lots and lots of guns. Talk to us a little bit about some of your favorite guns you've got.
Yeah, I like the guns that are the fastest or the oldest.
Oh, yeah.
So it's either one or the other for me.
So when you say fastest, do you like fastest to shoot like an automatic or fastest to draw?
Yeah, fastest to shoot automatics.
Oh,
so
okay.
the Fight Light MCR, that was like my favorite. When that came out, I was like, oh man, this can be belt fed and it can take a mag. I was like, oh yeah, this is amazing. So I really, really love that. And then, I don't have, I don't pay the tax to get the fully automatics. So I had a binary trigger on that. And I was like, oh, this is fun. And then there's the forced reset trigger, and you're just like, this gets even more fun.
Yeah.
And then the bump stocks, it's just like there's so many different options for you to shoot fast. And so I love that. I just spray and pray, baby.
Yeah.
Just fun.
And then what, like old lever guns, old revolvers?
Yep. I have a real passion for the Western guns.
Yeah,
it's
cool.
Yeah, so
old lever guns are awesome.
They're so cool.
Much fun to shoot.
And there's such a story. There's such a story behind them too.
Well, it's cool that they're modernizing them. They've taken this old, really historic gun and they're putting cool modern stuff on it. I think it's a good combination between modern technology and old school history.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's why they've really come back in popularity over the last 5 years, I would say.
Yeah, in 2017, they did a sizzle reel for a reality show on History Channel with me and my family. And they were talking, they're like, well, if you could have a gun, what would you make? And I was like, lever action with a magazine. And I should have done something about that because I literally think somebody heard that, and now you see those.
Yep.
Now you see Henry has them, Smith & Wesson has them, Fight Light Industry has them. So
you were way ahead of your back in 2017.
Yeah,
I don't think they were. I think they became kind of cool in like 2020-ish, 2021. Like you were way ahead of your time, bro.
Yeah.
Everybody started, well, and everybody stared buying them so much that it's almost like now you're kind of behind the curve. It's like, oh, whatever. I'll just wait for the next thing.
Yeah, exactly. I'm just like, oh man, because everybody wants it, I don't.
However, now we have a direct link to the next thing.
That's right.
Don't say what the next thing is on the air.
Don't worry, I won't.
Don't say
that's on the DM. Guys.
Tell us afterwards.
Done and done. But yeah, I really got known about my man cave here in Salt Lake when I had a man cave. I went around to the different salt mines, Silver City. If you've ever been down there, there's just a bunch of old mines out there that just had this old abandoned barnwood. So I actually collected that, built in my man cave, and then I put up the Gallotech everywhere and just started making a massive man cave. So it kind of elevated the bar of where guys are just like, I want a man cave.
So what was this man cave all about? Like just for you, or is it you bring people in, or
it used to be like my cigar lounge, like type of area. So I'm sure you've probably heard of like Madison Cawthorn, North Carolina.
Sure.
Yeah. So he's one of my boys. So even before he got into politics, he came into town and I was like, all right, we're going to have cigars in the man cave and talk. And that's when we first started talking about politics. He was like, could you do politics? And I was like, I really do. But I don't want to have to do it, but that's the best politician. The guy who's just like, I don't want to do this, but it needs to happen.
Mm-hmm.
So it was cool seeing Madison actually start talking about it then, and then actually getting elected.
Yeah.
So it was really fun for that. But yeah, so I'd have different people in there. We'd have a tattoo artist come in and do tattoos there. So it was just like, it was just a really cool room for ambiance.
Were you filming?
Yeah,
yeah,
we were filming.
Nice.
So now in Montana, my man cave up there now is like 600 square feet of just where the guns will be. So I'm now having to quantify that by 10. So that part of the homestead life, I'm going to do it better, just out in the middle of nowhere and where there's not a lot of people.
Was it hard leaving that man cave behind?
It was, yeah, it really was. It had the hidden door, that everybody wants.
So when you sold, did you sell that house?
Yeah.
So you sold that house, and the wife was like, "Oh, the kitchen. Where's my husband?" And you guys were in the man cave.
In man cave.
You knew he's going to pull the trigger, man.
Oh yeah, exactly.
I don't care. I don't even care that it has a kitchen. Check this out, babe.
Exactly.
So what's next for you?
So I'm going to finish the homestead. I'm going to be making some gun ranges up there, and then
nice.
Probably hosting some private events
on property.
On property.
Nice.
So it's really going to get known for running, training like through the woods, and having the obstacle horses, like the different steel targets and stuff like that. So it's going to be a very exclusive invite for people to come over. But it'll be very well known on social media about like, oh yeah, that cool training facility like in Montana. So it'll be a very unique experience. I think that everybody wants, but you just don't really see it yet. So that's kind of like me, again, trying to be ahead of something. It's just taken me a lot longer to get there. I thought this would have happened, in 2022. I was like, oh yeah, I'll be dialed in.
Mm-hmm.
God and life have a way of setting you back a little bit, but I'm just maintaining the goal of seeing what is to come.
Yeah.
So the man spot, is that your brand, or is that just happen to be your Instagram profile? Are you going to brand this something else? How's that work?
Yeah, it just happened to be my Instagram profile, and it was how I branded with different companies, knife companies, gun companies. There's been like a man spot edition, this apparel, stuff like that. It's just after the divorce, it really put me on my ass. So it's just trying to be like, okay, I'm going to recoup, rebrand, get the homestead going, and then come back, bigger, better than ever.
So how are you going to brand your ranges? Just through your Instagram as it is, or is it going to be something totally new, different? Are you going to try to do something different with it?
Yeah, I mean, obviously people have done it where they'll pick like a few select people, like Acosta. I've done some shooting with him, so it might just be in like, hey, why don't we do a collaborative event where we invite some exclusive people over and we put them through a gun course that nobody's done and he hasn't even trained for. So he's just like, whoa, I've been doing this for 20 years training people. It might be more longer than that. Forgive me if I got that wrong. But I want him to actually be excited about something like that. Because if you can get a shooting instructor excited about something that they typically only did, like you, I mean, it's something that you would do, special forces, doing some cool shit. That's kind of what I want to do. Obstacle course type of stuff, shooting in the Montana woods.
How hard is it to get to your place, northern Montana?
It's pretty. I mean, Kalispell, where that's at.
Yeah, is there an airport in Kalispell?
So it's right next to Glacier National Park.
Okay.
So really easy from Salt Lake. So you just fly from Salt Lake there, just one flight. But then I'm probably about an hour from Whitefish to get to where I'm at. Yeah,
there's a lot of people up there in our industry, man. Whitefish, in Kalispell area. I mean, it wasn't Black Rifle Coffee's one of their first locations was up there in Kalispell. That's the one you hear about the most, at least.
Yeah, with Andy, he's got that one.
Oh, that's right, because it's Andy. So are those like, are they franchised, or do you know if Black Rifle Coffee has control over each one of those? Because with the weird thing with Andy, it's almost like he's an owner of it.
I want to say the original. So Andy, and then we were talking about Neil earlier.
Yeah.
With the Ready Gunner. Those first couple were franchised to them. And then after, there's another one in Niceville, Florida. Those were franchised. And then kind of after that, I think they wanted to open like a ton, like really quick.
Yeah.
That's when they went to the model. Okay, we're not going to do it's a long process to franchise.
Yeah.
You got to make
It
sure
really
creditworthiness and
because that's actually how I met Neil. Is through Black Rifle Coffee did an event of inviting a bunch of people to network together. And that's when me and Neil started working together. So when he did open up that coffee shop in Ready Gunner, it was franchise, just like you said.
Yes, there may be like a handful that are like franchised, and then it was kind of a, hey, we're just going to do this.
It's really kind of blown up. So yeah, I'm unsure. So you would you know more than I. So
not a lot. I just I hung out in some of those circles for a little while.
Yeah,
but yeah.
Well, Vaughn, dude, awesome to meet you. Thanks for coming on and sharing your experiences and your life with us. And
oh yeah,
dude,
absolutely.
You, man.
You know, the best is yet to come. You know, I know this wasn't the most exciting podcast, but it gets you a little.
This is awesome.
Actually a lot of fun. This is actually a lot of fun.
If we could laugh as much as we did on this podcast, we're doing good. You know.
Okay. Hey.
Trying to entertain the people too. You know,
right,
I want to give them what they want to see.
Give the people what they want. Next time, I'll tell some bear stories and stuff like that on property and the wildlife that's out there, because it has been wild. I'll just close with one story. Okay.
Let's do it.
So, me and my witch girlfriend, you know, she was just like, hey, let's go on a walk and let's really get with nature. And I was just like, okay, yeah, that sounds great. She's like, naked. And I was like, okay, we're going to walk in nature naked. I have left my property twice without a gun. Twice. And this was the second time. So no phones, no nothing, no gun. And we're walking out there and I'm like, dude, okay, this is nice. And then all of a sudden, boom, baby cub climbing the tree. And she's like, wow, this is so beautiful. She's like walking towards this bear like, oh my gosh. And I grab her and I'm like, okay, this is a survival situation. We see baby bear, which means mama bear sees us. We don't see mama bear. And she was like, oh, there's a mama bear somewhere. And I was like, yeah. I was like, oh, why do you think that bear's like up in the tree?
Yeah. And mama bear sees my junk right now.
Exactly right. So I'm like, backing up slow, like getting ready for this bear to just bust out of the bushes and just tear my naked body apart. And I could only see just like the mortician comes in and is like, yeah, there was literally nothing left of him, not even clothing. Like,
yeah, he started out as a clothed man going on a hike.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was just right on my property. So it just opened my eyes of like, okay, never leave without a gun, and probably not the best to go naked again. But hey, Montana homestead life.
Well, so now you just go with a holster and nothing
just
else.
Covering the
belt.
package.
Yeah,
just the gun covers the package.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, you can't prison wallet that thing.
Exactly right.
You know, I mean, a bear? What are you going to kill? Hold on, babe. I got to slide this out. Okay.
So yeah, anytime it would be fun to get you guys out there. You know, once I get it finished, you know,
that'd be rad
to get your guys' approval of like, yeah, this is a really cool obstacle gun course type thing. Like this isn't just at the range, pull, go towards your target, shoot. Now get on the ground, shoot. Now stand up, back up. Like I want this to be like full on, like something that you're like, okay, I will not get sick of this. Like that's the type of experience that I want to develop for shooters and get them excited about it.
That's cool. That sounds awesome.
Yeah, sounds awesome.
Love to do that.
Yeah. Let us know. We'll stay in touch for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me on the show.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.